call hard-boiled observations as my father was nuclear submarines for 17 years. As I was a baby and we would celebrate Christmas, this is, back around shortly after Bay of Pigs. And he would be gone 3 to 6 months at a time. They were running lots of experiments. How long can people stay under the North Pole? Months, how long? And so I'd be home, at the same time I'm learning about who is Santa Claus. We had a little globe, and I was looking at the world as a globe because I'd say, where's Daddy? And Daddy's over here. Daddy's over here. He's in these different places. So I had this just inherently more global perspective, but it was like, what's he doing? Well, he's on the ship that's probably going to end the world. So as a little child, what was being programmed in simultaneously as the mythologies of like Christmas, what was also being programmed in was you're probably never going to die of old age. Because I was learning about thermonuclear war, global thermonuclear war, got this tall, and that was just a built-in perception. Now at the same time, we started getting color TV, yay, and then right away, boom, we watched people being napalmed in Vietnam. This is what started coming on with that. My first love was fishing. I used to escape grew up on the Connecticut River, and watched species disappear just from encountering streams and rivers every year. And you could find oftentimes it might be one factory upstream. I watched the blue crabs disappear. I watched the salmon disappear. I have my favorite lakes that I used to fish in Vermont. I watched them die entirely. They were still gorgeous. They still had, you could see 20 feet down. There was not one living thing because of acid rain was killing them. And these things are like, what the hell is going on as a kid? Now today we have the millennials, they're seeing something different. If you just search Google for fish kills in the last year, and you go, what is going on? Why are the birds dropping out of the sky? These are the things we'd usually rather not talk about because we'd rather focus on profit. Research. It might start with a spark of inspiration, but it starts with enormous amounts of research. And for me, I guess that research really began when I was just an infant, learning everything, how to talk. But my dad was nuclear submarines, and he was off and away at sea. So, and these people, my parents, bless their souls, they're all gone now. But they were just simple folks trying to get through in the world. They didn't necessarily know that maybe teaching the kid about global nuclear war at 3 was not a great idea. But I did. I had a good idea of those things, as most kids had ideas of Santa Claus. And so we had a globe at home that just be, Christmas and Dad's not home, so where's Daddy? And we'd look at the globe and say, he was probably somewhere over here, probably. And at a young age, I think, and I've thought about it oftentimes since, but I think that gave me a very three-dimensional view of the world and more as a ball rather than a local viewpoint. And so I was looking at it globally, just trying to say, oh, Dad's over here, and this conflict is happening, the Cold War. And he
nuclear subs for 17 years. And that's how I grew up as a kid. So as a little baby, my dad wouldn't be home for Christmas, and I'd be like, where's Daddy? And it'd be like my mother would break out the globe, and she'd be like, he's under the ice up here somewhere in a sub that's carrying all the missiles that'll end the world. So this was like, I'm not saying they were very educated parents. They didn't really know how to, you probably shouldn't tell your kid those things. But I understood global nuclear thermonuclear global war fairly well, by the age of 6. And, you probably shouldn't let your kid be that informed by that age, I'm just saying. But I was. And so I had a different perspective. I had a perspective of the world that it was very fragile and most likely not going to make it. And I'm not saying that was realistic. I'm just saying that's where I was coming from. And as a result, growing up, it started getting me in a lot of trouble because I just didn't give a shit. And what I mean by that is, if you read about a lot of the Crips, the MS-13 gangs, the various criminal youth elements out there, they don't give a shit because they don't think they're going to make it anyway. And that's a really dangerous place for youth to be. And but that was like, full on in that zone, because what's the point? My dad was, we'd be, there was Bay of Pigs, there was Cuban Missile Crisis, there was the Cold War, all of that. It was kind of like average dinner table conversation. And as a kid, you just wound up not having hope. And I think that's the worst for kids. is that they don't have hope. And by whatever graces of the universe, luck had befallen me in different ways, that I started to realize that I could actually be something and not just a victim in this world.